Since Massachusetts, there have been court decisions, and gay marriage is now legal in 6 states. But there have been also many more referendums that have been put up to popular vote. And it's always a dicey proposition when a person's, an individual's basic rights are put up to popular vote. That an individual is always outnumbered. A minority is always outnumbered by the majority. And so the deck is stacked against anybody who's a minority of any type trying to get their rights granted by the majority, rights that should be inherent. But now, 9 states prohibit same-sex marriage in statute, and 30 have prohibited it in their constitution. So that's 39 states have prohibited gay marriage versus 6 states in which it is legal. We are one of the 9 states that have it illegal by statute. Our Defense of Marriage Act says only a marriage between one man and one woman shall be valid or recognized as a marriage in Indiana. A legal status identical or substantially similar to that of marriage for unmarried individuals shall not be valid or recognized. So this law could even threaten companies who wish to offer benefits to unmarried heterosexual partners or same-sex partners who are forbidden to be married. And since 2004, there's been an effort every year to force through a constitutional amendment. In 2010, there was a proposal for an amendment, and it passed in 30 to 8 to 10, but died in the Senate, but died in the House. But in 2011, it was brought again, and the proposal passed in the House and in the Senate. Now, the way the laws about amendments are that it has to pass in 2 times in different sessions. So there will be an identical amendment put on the ballot sometime in the next session, in the 2013-2014, in order to place it on the ballot for vote. So we're in the middle of the fight right here. We're in the middle of the fight to recognize the rights of people to marry. Each of you in your order of service today got a little card that probably dropped out inconveniently. That's an invitation to Outfest. It's happening next Saturday downtown. And at that, our church and several other churches and organizations will be giving information on how to resist the move to take away rights. And the reason they want to get it as a constitutional amendment is because they do see that the tide is turning. The view of the people is much more liberal than the view of the legislature. Over 50% of Americans now support same-sex marriage, but it hasn't been reflected by their representatives. And this is more than just a political fight. It is a spiritual fight because it's about the spirit of love. And it's difficult because in the short run, people are more motivated by fear than by love. But I believe, and this is probably an act of faith because it's not always borne out by evidence, but in the long run that love is stronger than fear. There are people who fear that these laws will destroy the family. But you and I know, we've met families with 2 male partners, 2 female partners, and rather than being scandalous, they're surprisingly ordinary. They worry about what schools their kids are going to, how to pay the bills, and just how to raise their kids to be decent human beings. The idea that people wanting to make a commitment to each other threatens the institution of families is preposterous on the face of it. These people are trying to make commitment to each other. They're not trying to destroy anybody else's commitment. And some fear that faith is being destroyed. And I think that they should read their Bible. The Bible, through most of it, promotes polygamous marriage. And Solomon with his many wives and concubines. It also forbids marrying out of one's tribe. Both of these taboos have been dropped without destroying the faith. Jesus Christ did forbid divorce, but most Christian denominations do not, and they still consider themselves Christian. So this idea that gay marriage will destroy faith is not supported by the Bible. And Jesus actually said nothing at all about homosexuals in his preaching. If it was as important as the Christian right thinks it is, you think he would have said something sometime. But sometimes people just fear change in itself. Change is inherently scary. And I think we should remind them that marriage has always changed. It has changed from a property exchange where people were attractive because they had huge tracts of land to being based on love, to being something that was akin to slavery to women, but now affords women more freedom. And besides, just an interesting statistic, maybe gay marriage is strengthening marriage. As of 2010, Massachusetts had the lowest divorce rate in America. Its divorce rate was the same as the U.S. divorce rate was back in 1940. Not surprisingly, the highest rate of divorce is in Nevada. But conservative states, Arkansas, Wyoming, Idaho, and West Virginia round out the top 5. Now, of course, correlation is not causation. I doubt that having same-sex couples having legal rights actually will help my marriage. My marriage will stand and fall on its own merits. And I worry about the marriages that would fall because someone's worried that some couple of the same sex might be enjoying each other's company. If you're thinking of that couple while you're with your wife or husband, there's probably something more wrong with your marriage that has nothing to do with what those other people are doing. But this fear of all things gay and lesbian and transgender needs to be lessened. And the main way that it can happen is by gay people coming out of the closet. When people know someone who is gay and they're their friend, they're more likely to let them have the right, to affirm their right to be married. But in many states, people can still get fired from their job just for being gay. It's not safe for many reasons for gay people to come out. And that's where the allies need to speak up. When you're at work, just to simply say, I know gay people. That's not so. You know, what has your experience been with gay people? Ask your friends who. And it's usually the people who only see gays as some distant, monolithic or homolithic group that fear them. And so those of us who know gays and lesbians and know them in the role of parent, we have an experience and understanding that others don't. And when we speak up and say, I know people, and what you're saying is untrue. Let people know you know gay people, that you know children who are raised by gay people, that you have let homosexuals watch your children. Let them know that you have overcome fear. Your story of how you've overcome fear might be a pathway for them to overcome their own. There are people on the extreme who are motivated by hate and have calcified beliefs, but the majority of people just haven't thought of it so hard and have just listened to the voices that are the loudest. And that's why we need to raise our voices. We need to let people know that human beings deserve human rights. We are at a tipping point in our culture. People are beginning to understand. Let us push that tipping point. Let us tell people to not be afraid. Let them know that families that are built on love and allowed to love is the best basis for a community, the best basis for us to build a world where everyone has an opportunity to fall in love and be happy. May we bless and be blessed.